Everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. Trust you're good, trust you're doing well. So today we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful kimono flay dress that has a inseam finishing in a very easy and simple way that even a beginner can understand. So if it is something you want to learn, keep watching. Let's get started. To make this kimono flay dress, you're going to be needing your fabric. As you can see, I've already folded my fabric. To get the fold of this fabric, you're going to divide your hip, which is your largest body circumference. If it's your hip, then you can add extra 7 to 10 inches depending on how you want the flay to be. So you divide your hip circumference divided by 4 plus 7 to 10 inches depending on how many inches you want to use for your flay. So to start now, just to start the drafting, I'm going to mark a starting point at the top of the fabric, just like you see me doing. And the next thing is to take half of my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 is going to be 4 inches plus half inch, and I will mark 7.5, which is going to be sewing allowance since you're marking directly on the fabric. So for my armhole circumference, I'm going to mark my armhole circumference 1 inch for the slope and half inch for the ease. Since this is going to be a free dress, so I added half inch for ease on my armhole circumference. So this is optional if you don't want. So I'm going to mark my neck width of 3 inches. And then this is going to be the back. I'm drafting the back first, so I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches as the width of my neckline, so as the depth of my neckline. So I'm going to take my shoulder slope. So for the neckline, I use 3 inches for the width and use 1.5 for the depth. So mark your shoulder slope. You are going to get the midpoint of your shoulder, come in by half an inch, then mark your 1/4 of your bust circumference. Then you can add 1 inch or 1.5 or half inch to it for ease. This is going to be a free dress, and because it's going to be a free dress, you can add up to. So for me, I'm going to add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So half of my 1/4 of my bust circumference, 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then you connect your neckline. So when you are done, you are going to mark your vertical lines. So from shoulder to, I'm going to mark from shoulder to my waistline, my shoulder to hip, and the length. But in this case, we don't really need the hip since it's going to be a free dress, so we don't really need the hip. So I've marked from shoulder to the waistline to the hip and to the length of the dress, though we don't really need this we don't really need the hip. So on the length of my gown, my kimono dress, I added 2 inches as the hemming allowance. So after marking, this is what I have on my waistline. I'm going to mark 1/4 of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So from my chest line, I'm going to connect to the hip. So for this is also optional. You can decide to connect from the chest line straight down to the length of your dress. You can decide to also mark to the waistline before connecting it to the down part of your dress. It depending on how you want it. For me, I want that curvy shape on the waistline. That is why I connected to my waistline first before connecting to my length of my dress. So for the length of this place, I'm going to make a curve because I want it to have a bit of curve at the down part. So what I use on the down part is my hip plus 8 inches, and I'm going to have 1 inch for the sewing allowance. So if I sew, what I will have there is my hip plus 7 inches. So for the flay, you can determine how wide you want it to. For me, I use hip plus 8 inches, which include also my 1 inch for the sewing allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and add half inch for sewing allowance on my neckline, on my shoulder. I have already added on the armhole when I was marking my shoulder measurement. So there is no need adding to the armhole again. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out this. So the next thing to do is to mark my front part. So to mark my front part, I folded my fabric. The front part the folding should be wider than the back part by either 1 or 2 inches. 1 or 2 inches. So the first thing is to mark 1 inch on the center front from up here to the down part. I'm going to mark 1 inch. So the difference between the front and the back is that the front, so I've marked the front is going to be open and the back is going to be closed. So this is it. So I'm going to make an opening from the neckline to the waist line of the front. Did you see? So I'm going to make from this point now. So from this point, I'm going to mark this point to this point. So it's going to be like a V like neckline. From this point, I'm going to connect to this point. So this is the difference between the front and the back, and that also the front is going to be open while the back is going to be closed. Did you see that? So the neckline that I used for the front, neckline width that I used for the front is also 3 inches, but the depth is from that point to your waistline. Did you see? So that is the width of the front neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. So that is the only difference between the front and the back part of this dress. So when I'm done, this is what I have. Did you see that? This is what I have. So I will go ahead and cut out my sleeve. This is the fabric that is remaining from my this is the remaining fabric. So I'm going to be folding this into two, and I'm also going to, is like 18 inches. The width is 18 inches. So I'm going to also fold it the second time because I want to cut the two sleeves together. So the width I'm using is 18 inches, but you can decide to use your desired width because this hand is going to be like flare. So you're going to use desired width. So what I'm going to do, and the length you're going to use is the length of your sleeve minus 2 inches because you are going to be adding band to it. You're going to be adding band to the hand, to the sleeve. So if it is 2 inches band you're going to add, you're going to subtract 2 inches from the length of the sleeve. If it is 1 inch band, you're going to subtract 1 inch from the length of the sleeve before cutting it. So it's just going to be a simple sleeve. So first I'm going to come down by 4.5 inches, which is my sleeve cap. Normally supposed to be 4 inches, but because I'm cutting on the fabric plus ½ inch for the joining, so I came down by 4.5. So I'm going to mark half of my armhole circumference plus 1.5 inches to it. So that is what I marked, and then connected the head of my sleeve. So this is not going to be like a basic sleeve since it's just a flare sleeve. So from this point I'm going to connect the end of this sleeve. This is just a freehand style of sleeve, so it's not like our normal basic sleeve. So this is what I have as the sleeve, and trust me, it came out nice. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to measure the length of what I want, of the sleeve I want, and then add ½ inch for the joining allowance to the band, and then I'm going to cut. So but before then I want the sleeve to have a bit of curve, so I came up here by 1 and then I'm connecting it back like this just for it to have that bit of curve, and I'll go ahead and cut it. So this is actually very easy and simple for you to make. Very easy and simple to make. So I will just go ahead and cut out the sleeve. So when I'm done cutting, this is what I have. Did you see how the sleeve is? It came out nice. It's going to be a kind of flay kind of sleeve. Did you see? So this is what I have for the sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do is to notch this point. Did you see? Just to notch that point, and then the next thing is to cut out the band. I'm going to cut out the band. So the length of the band is going to be like 2 inches, but I'm going to cut 3 inches. Each 1 inch is going to be joining allowance. So I'm going to cut 3 inches. Normally you're supposed to cut on bias fold like this, but because I don't have enough fabric, that is why I decided to cut on a straight line. But when you cut on a bias fold, it will make the band to relax more. So if you have excess fabric, it's advisable you cut on bias fold. But if you don't have, you can decide to cut on a straight line, just like I'm doing now. So once you have cut this, I'm going to use it and cut as many as possible. This band is going to have like a lining as well, like another band that will be used as a lining for turning it in. So I'm going to cut as many band as possible. So when I'm done cutting, this is what I have. So I'm going to go ahead and iron my stay on the main fabric, on the main band. I'm going to iron my stay and then use pressing iron to fold in one side of this band. When I'm done, you will see what I'm talking about. So this is all the stuff that we have. So this is the front part and back part. I have gone ahead to cut out lining for it. Did you see? And this is the front part. I've gone ahead to cut out lining. The other, this back, and the other one is front. So this is my sleeve. Did you see? This is the sleeve, and then this is the band. I have ironed my hairstay on it. Did you see? And I've folded one side of it. I've ironed my hairstay. So I'm going to join these two together, since it's not as long as what I wanted. So I'm going to join these two together to form one long band. So this is going to be like a lining for the band. Did you see? This is going to be like a lining. So just place it like this. This is, you will sew it like this, and then you will use it to turn in the band to the right side. Did you see? So when I'm sewing it, you will get to understand more. So you're going to go into the sewing process of this kimono flay dress. So this is the back. I'm going to remove all the pins from this fabric. So when I'm done removing the pin, this is what I have. This is the back part of this. So I'm going to also open the front. I'm going to face the right side of the front to face the right side of the back like this. Did you see? So I will and I'll also face the other side, the right side of the back facing the right side of the front. And I'm going to sew the side seam and join them on the shoulder. Sew the side seam by 1 inch, or the sewing allowance you added, and then the shoulder. So I've gone ahead to also sew this band. Did you see? I've used the other fabric to turn the band. Did you see what I have? So I have turned the band like this. One of the band has ST attached. One side of the band have the ST attached. The other side does not have the ST. So when I'm done sewing, this is what I have. When I'm done joining, this is what I have. I have gone ahead also to sew the lining the exact way I sewed my fabric. So I'm trying to show you what we have. Did you see? So I've joined the two sides, and I've also joined the shoulder. So this is the lining. I've gone ahead to sew the lining the exact way I sewed the main fabric. So for this lining, I'm going to be cutting off like 1 inch. So remember, I added like 2 inches on the down part of this, on the hem part of this dress. So for the lining, I'm going to cut off like 1 inch at the down part of the lining before using this lining to turn this dress. So when I'm done cutting, I'm going to use it and turn the main fabric. So open it like this. Let the right side of the lining face the right side of this fabric. Then you're going to hold it on the hem parts like this. Hold it together on the hem parts and then join by half an inch. Did you see? So just take your time and place it in a way it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and join it on the down part. So when I'm done, this is what I have. I have to iron all the seam. Open, did you see? I have to iron the seam. Did you see? I've joined it on the down part. So I'm going to turn it to the right side now for you to see. Did you see the down part? Did you see how the down part is? Did you see? So I'm going to bring it up to touch the shoulder. So I'm not going to be closing the shoulder since we're going to be attaching the band. So I'm not going to be closing the neckline, sorry, since you are going to be attaching a band. So I'm just going to use pin and pin the lining and the fabric together before attaching my lining. So you're going to match it in such a way that the shoulder of the lining will touch the shoulder of the fabric on both sides. Did you see that? So I went ahead to stitch the lining and the fabric together to avoid it moving one side. I just stitched it together like this. Did you see? So that it can stay in one place like this. So I'm going to be attaching my band to it. So did you see my band? I went ahead to fold in this part of this band. Did you see? I folded this place. I closed it up. So I'm going to be attaching it like this. Attach it all around and then use the second one to close it. So I think I will have to start from here. Did you see? So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to attach it, place it like this and use my pin and hold. I will sew it first all around. Then before using the second part of this band to close it up like this. Did you see? To close it up like this. So the first thing first is to sew the band all round by half an inch. So starting from the down part, I'm going to sew it to the shoulder part into the down part of the other side. So it's actually very easy to do this. So I'm also going to attach my sleeve. So this is my sleeve. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to attach the band on the down part of the sleeve. The band, if you look at the dress, the down part of the sleeve has a band. So I'm going to attach band to the down part of the sleeve and then attach the sleeve to the main dress, just like the way you attach your normal sleeve. And when I'm done, I'm also going to sew the band, or I will do the band first before doing the sleeve. As you can see, I have sewn this. So what I have now, I have sewn the part, I've sewn the band, one part of the band to the dress and to the end of this place. So I'm going to cut off the excesses, but I'm going to like leave half an inch so that I can fold it in like this. Did you see? Fold it in like this. Did you see what I'm doing? Fold it in by that half inch before closing up this side. Did you see? And then you close it up. Did you see? Very simple. Let me just show you. Just fold it in like this and then hold it like this to close this band. So when I'm done, I'm going to close the band all around like this. I'm going to close the band just like the way you attach your skirt band. So I'm going to close it up. Did you see? And sew it all round from one end to the other end. So when I'm done, I'll add my sleeve as well. So I went ahead to make a small belt, but I think I'm going to get a bigger belt because this is small and I know you know how to make a belt. So this is what I have when I'm done sewing. So I have used the band to close up everywhere, and you can see the neat finishing of this dress. So did you see? And I've also added my 2 inches my band on my sleeve. Sorry, I've added my band on my sleeve. So this is actually very easy and very simple to make. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a big thumbs up. So I'm going to just use a weaving machine to weave the armhole part of this dress, and you can see this is so fine, this is so beautiful. So if you enjoyed this video, if you got value from this video, please give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you for watching. See you in my next class. Bye.